So I want to welcome you all to the Four Cycles Institute, and we have the honor to have with us Frank Anderson Westella to teach us about Transcending Trauma workshop. Frank Anderson is a medical doctor who completed his residency, and he was a clinical instructor in psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. He's both a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist, and he specializes in trauma treatment and dissociation, and he's passionate about teaching brain-based psychotherapy and integrating current neuroscience knowledge with the IFS model of therapy. Dr. Anderson is a lead trainer at the IFS Institute with Richard Schwartz, and he maintains a long affiliation and offers trainings for Bessel van der Kolk's Trauma Center. He serves as an advisor to the International Association of Trauma Professionals, and he was the former chair and director of the Foundation for Self-Leadership. Dr. Anderson has lectured extensively on the neurobiology of PTSD and dissociation and wrote the chapter, Who's Taking What? Connecting Neuroscience, Psychopharmacology, and Internal Family Systems for Trauma in Internal Family Systems Therapy, New Dimensions. He co-authored a chapter on what IFS brings to trauma treatment in Innovations and Elaborations in Internal Family Systems Therapy book. And recently, he co-authored Internal Family Systems Skills Training Manual, also translated into Spanish. His most recent book, entitled Transcending Trauma, Healing Complex PTSD with Internal Family Systems, was released May 19, 2021 in English, and just recently in Spanish. So welcome, and we invite you to get your own copy of this book so you can follow through this workshop. Welcome, Frank. It's so nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to be here. Partly, I wish I was here in person to be able to give you a big hug, but it's lovely to be here this way. We've been working on this for a long time, so it's lovely to kind of make this finally a reality. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's such a gift for the Spanish-speaking professionals who are part of our community, as well for the European, Middle Eastern, and Latin American professionals who follow us in the Four Cycles Institute and our affiliate partners in the Colegio Oficial de la Psicología de Cataluña and other Newman Institute in Mexico and other partners around the world. So it's such a great honor to have you with us. And now we're gonna stop this introduction, settle down, and be prepared to go through the modules. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm really, really pleased to be here. You know, one of the things that's really important to me personally is this mission of being able to spread trauma healing to the world. It was something that kind of came to me, honestly came to me after the release of my last book, Transcending Trauma. It's never been kind of a life aspiration for me, if you will, but I really feel like it's a calling. After that book was released, Transcending Trauma, I just feel called to continue to bring this message of trauma healing to the world. And so it's so lovely to be invited into this organization and to be invited to the affiliate partners to be able to spread this word of healing trauma throughout the world. Because let's face it, one of the things I consistently see when I used to travel throughout the world before the pandemic came, now as we're doing all of this work on Zoom, there's something universal. Two things for me are universal throughout the world. I've traveled through Asia, through Europe, South America, the United States. Trauma is universal, and the resiliency of the human spirit. I see that everywhere I go. There's no countries, people, segment of the population, gender that are immune from trauma. But more important is the capacity of resilience and the capacity to overcome traumatic or overwhelming life experiences. So that warms my heart. And the more I can teach people how to do that, the better off I feel, but more importantly, the better off the world is. So thank you for joining this. Thank you for being a part of the solution. Everyone here who's a part of this workshop is going to be taking in this information, assimilating it in the way that makes sense for you, and you will then be part of this larger purpose of bringing trauma healing to the world. So welcome, thank you for joining, and thank you for being part of the solution. Okay, so we're going to first get started, and I will be teaching about this intersection between internal family systems, neuroscience of PTSD and dissociation, and healing of trauma. There's many dimensions to this work. I've been doing this work since 1992. As you heard, I started working with Bessel van der Kolk at his trauma center back in 1992 when I was in my residency training program. And I have really been doing trauma healing work my whole career. So here we are now in 2023, and really the field has expanded so much. I met Dick Schwartz, the founder of the model, founder of the internal family systems model, in 2004 at a workshop that I did with Bessel van der Kolk at Bessel's Trauma Center. And for me personally, I really found IFS to be a very complete model for healing trauma. I, as you'll learn, have been trained in EMDR. I was trained in EMDR very early on with Bessel van der Kolk at his trauma center. I was, in fact, the psychiatrist who was part of a study comparing EMDR to Prozac way back in the day. And interestingly enough, EMDR was more effective than Prozac in the study. So it really brought EMDR onto the map. Next, I started training in sensory motor psychotherapy with Pat Ogden and started incorporating body-centered work as it relates to trauma. So EMDR is a trauma modality. We'll be talking more about this later. Sensory motor psychotherapy, body-centered therapy, as many of you know from Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score. So much is held in the body. The body is the first meter of trauma, if you will. All trauma shows up first through the body and then gets processed internally. And then lastly, the internal family systems model, which again, I think is the most complete. It works the best for my personality. I'm aware that each modality is important, and each modality has very unique contributions to healing trauma. So I don't want to say that IFS is the only way to heal, because I don't believe that. A couple years ago, did a course called Integrating Different Trauma Therapies. And it was fascinating to me that each modality, whatever you looked at, whether it was cognitive behavior therapy, a dialectical behavior therapy, accelerated experiential dynamic processing, somatic experiencing, sensory motor psychotherapy, EMDR, no matter what modality, they all have an important contribution to healing trauma, because we're all working on the same dysregulation within the body. So regardless of what modality you're using, it's all working on the same dysregulation. So there's a contribution for all models. And I personally, as my career has evolved, I really believe in integration. So I think each therapist out there, each coach has tools that they have accumulated over the years, and that you want to take all the tools that you have acquired and utilize them with each client, because not every client needs the same modality to help them heal from trauma. So it's important to be able to be proficient and integrate different modalities in your work. Different clients will need different things at different points in time. And my hope here for you in taking this course is that you're going to be able to assimilate and to take in some of the internal family systems principles and steps and tools so that you're going to be able to incorporate some of the IFS model into your work with your clients. So why don't we get started? Again, thank you for joining me on this journey, and yeah, let's get going.